Welcome to ZKast, everyone. I'm ZS Caraval from ZK Research, and I'm joined today by Niki Hall, CMO of Five9. Now, in my everyday conversations with different C-level executives, I generally wind up talking a lot about product and company vision and things like that. In fact, if you look at my YouTube channel, ZKast, it's filled with discussions like that. What I haven't really explored, though, was how these executives, particularly CMOs, are driving impact to their organizations. And I think a lot is changing, or has changed in the last few years with the rise of AI and the availability of data. So I wanted to talk to a CMO who I think is very well seasoned. Now, Niki, you and I have known each other a long time, and I've seen this industry go through a lot of changes. Just a quick intro on yourself.
Hi, yeah, thanks, Zios. Thanks for having me today. So yeah, Niki Hall, Chief Marketing Officer of Five9. Five9 is a CX company, customer experience. Prior to Five9, I've been at Content Square, Cisco, Polycom, numerous companies, and I'm really I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, now we're going to dive into the evolving role of the CMO and explore what it means to be a strategic marketing leader. As I mentioned, over the years, I've worked with many different types of CMOs. In fact, I can often categorize the CMO as to one of many different types. There are some that are very behind the scenes, operationally focused. There's ones that are very lead gen focused. There's ones that are a little more visionary that tend to, be out in front and do a lot more of the public facing stuff. Now, when I look at your career as a CMO from the different jobs you've had, you've kind of done all of those things. And so, given your broad experience across the marketing spectrum, how would you describe yourself as a CMO?
Yeah, I'm probably more of an operational CMO. So this comes from like Blair Christie. So Blair Christie, who probably most people know, she was the CMO of Cisco. She always taught us to be a business professional first, functional second. So the reason why I say operational is because even though I spent some time in product marketing, brand, corporate communications, demand gen, you name it, depending upon what the company is trying to achieve, like what is their business objective, what is their OKR, then you align what you need to apply from a marketing perspective to achieve it. So over the years, since I've been in the industry for a very long time, aging myself, so over the years, I've had I've been able to experience all aspects of the marketing mix. So I pull whatever levers needed to hit the company's objective. So more of an operational CMO.
Yeah. Now, when I look at the role of marketing within a company, sometimes it's not obvious how it ties to the overall company's, business strategy. In fact, if you talk to equity analysts and things, they always want to talk to the CFO, right, and CEO. So, how do you ensure marketing is aligned with your company's overall business strategy and revenue?
Yeah. Well, it starts again with understanding the business objectives, right? What are the company's OKRs? And I think that's where some CMOs go sideways, where they don't like pause to say, okay, what are we trying to achieve? Some companies it's brand build because they need to put themselves on the map. Some companies, it's just growth at all costs. What I do is I understand the company's business objectives, and then I create something called a VSCM, which is just a very simple framework. And I learned this from John Chambers when I was at Cisco for 12 years. John would, if you did not have a VSCM, a vision, strategy, how you're going to execute and measure over a rolling four-quarter period, that's something I added myself, then you owed him $100. You literally had to have a VSCM. So vision is time bound. Back then, it was like 3 to 5 years, right? But technology is moving so quickly. So it's my vision typically that I work with my marketing leadership team to define is something that's about 24 months, so 2 years out. The strategy to achieve the vision, and I'll share a framework here. The strategy to achieve the vision is something from 12 to 24 months. And then you usually have executional pillars to achieve that said strategy. So it might be set the industry agenda, right, with positioning and repositioning your company. Definitely you need demand gen and different pillars. And you have SMART objectives, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound objectives within those pillars. And then you have your measures underneath. So that's your M for measurement. I like to measure over a rolling 4-quarter period, and I work with my marketing leaders to develop this. Once we close out Q1 and we have a QBR in Q1, we actually plan for Q1 of the following year. So it's always, so you have visibility of what's coming. My biggest frustration is fire drills, right? If you plan well and you understand the company's priorities, you can definitely avoid fire drills. So it's really using that framework tied to the company's OKRs.
Yeah. In fact, it's funny you brought that up, John. I remember him talking about that, people
Yes.
always $100 all the time. And he'd hold you to it, right?
He would.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you literally, even for a launch or an acquisition, like when Cisco was acquiring WebEx, if you did not have your VSCM on you, and back then people would print out slides like paper, if you did not have your VSCM on you, you owed them $100.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Niki, when I think about the job of marketing today, I think a decade or so ago, it had a lot to do with brand, right? But now there's more focus on demand. There's more focus on CX. In fact, my research shows that CX, and I think everybody's does, is the #1 brand differentiator, right? So when you think about the investments that you want to make, how do you prioritize it again across brand, demand, CX, and all the other initiatives that you have underway?
Okay, so I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it depends upon what you're trying to achieve. So like, what are the company's objectives? And then you tie your strategy to that, and that defines your mix. It's like serious decisions now acquired by Forrester. They would say, okay, best practice is 80% into demand. It can't be that way, because you don't know not every company's the same. Some of
it depends on where you are in your life cycle, right? Early stage
absolutely.
Companies, they want to grow at all costs, where late stage companies want to be a lot more profitable.
And depends upon what region, right? If you're trying to penetrate Asia Pacific and you have very low brand awareness, you have to invest more in brand build there before you can stimulate demand, right? Because if people don't know who you are, you can't drive demand. Or if you do drive demand, it's very cost prohibitive. You have to do that blend between. So usually, like, I like to have about 80% in demand, but it shifts. Sometimes it's 60%. If you're looking to build out a team, if you're a public company and you're not doing raises, if you're a private company and you continue to do raises, like Content Square, we did a 500 million raise with SoftBank. We did a 600 million raise with Sixth Street. That's it. Sixth Street. So when you need investment to drive a return, you can say, hey, can I have some money? Because you're a private company. But when you're a public company and you have a set forecast, you have to figure out how to do it within your own expense to revenue. And you can't, there's no secret money. There's no money tree, right? So you have to figure out what levers to pull according to what you're trying to achieve. One of the first things I invest in is, you mentioned customer experience. We all know, and if you don't, now you will, it's a lot more cost effective to retain a customer than it is to acquire a net new. Yeah. So you should really be focused on retention and expansion within the base. And it's just a good thing to do. I mean, they put their trust in you as a brand to serve them, to help them meet their business goals. So make sure you're giving them like all of the value they could have, deriving all the value from your solution.
Yeah. Now, when I think about marketing and product, what I often hear at a lot of companies is the product people go, well, that's just marketing. I don't really crazy. Yeah, I don't really hear that a lot at Five9, and nor did I at Content Square. And so what that tells me is that marketing is actually influencing product roadmap or customer innovation in some cases. And so talk about your approach there and how you can actually influence product and innovation.
Yeah, it's really insights to inform the business, and I learned this again at Cisco.
Well, they do it well. So
yeah, and working with John Chambers, he was tough, right? But you learned a ton under him. So he expected you to like have key insights to inform whatever it may be. If you're going into a meeting with Gartner, okay, Niki, what are the top 3 things you need me to do? What are the insights that help to align that? So what I've always done is tap into the customers. My customer base here at Five9, Alaska Airlines is a big customer of ours. I went up and did a day in a life with Alaska Airlines and looked at how the 3 different lines of business within Alaska is actually using the Five9 solution. So it's customer care, guest services, and central baggage central baggage services. And I saw how they're using the Five9 solution. I'm like, oh, you can get more value if you do this, you do that. Insights. And I brought those insights back into the product team. I also spent some time with Lululemon when I was up in the Pacific Northwest in Vancouver, and brought those insights back to the product team. So your customers, industry analysts, like, especially analysts who are always talking to your customers, right? Gartner is a really good source of that. ZS, over the years, I tapped into you know exactly what's top of mind for CIOs. So bring those insights to inform. So once you see similar insights between what the customers are saying, what industry analysts are saying, kind of percolates to the top, you drive that back into the business, and it helps to shape kind of where they focus.
Yeah. Now, I guess when you think about the impact of marketing, right, people always look at pipeline, right? How much pipeline did you drive? How much pipeline, right? Up and down the funnel. And so I know you and I have talked about this a little bit, but I wanted to try and dive deep into this. How do you measure the contribution of marketing beyond simple pipeline metrics? Because I think that can be misleading sometimes.
Yeah, well, pipeline is very important, right? Yeah. Because the lifeblood of a company is the sales team, right? So they're the ones out selling. So you have to do everything in your power to enable the field. So I am huge on sales and marketing alignment. Well, I call it the four legs of the stool. You've heard me say this before, ZS. It's sales, customer success, product, and marketing. So it's like a table, and there's four legs, and you all have to work synergistically together. So first and foremost, always pipeline. But in order to get that pipeline, it's an integrated mix, right? You have to build the brand to drive demand. I call that brand gen. Company positioning. I had to do that at Content Square. So they were a French tech startup, and they were 70 million in revenue when I started. And over 3 years, we scaled to 420 million. It was like huge growth over a short period of time. It was fun. It was incredibly fun. But they were trying to penetrate the North America market. So I'll share with you some of the work that we did. So this was for Content Square, if you can see it. We started with, I should show this. We started with a repositioning of the company and trying to understand truly what is it about the company. So they were digital experience analytics. And so what that is behind every mouse move and click, there's a person trying to achieve something. But what I'm trying to achieve is so different than what you're trying to achieve, ZS, or the listeners. So everyone's unique. Know what makes them click. Content Square, more human analytics. So that was more of the horizontal play. And then we said, okay, well, there's emotion behind it. Are people rage clicking and they're trying to figure something out, right? Like, what is it they're trying to achieve? So we called it emotion. So are they elated or frustrated? Are they awestruck or dumbstruck, right? So there was sound here. You would see it. JMS, John McNeil Studios, was our partner here. We actually, through this campaign, we became a finalist at the Cannes Festival down in south of France in June. We didn't win, sadly, but we were a finalist, which is super proud of the work. So you start it with the horizontal, then you bring them in further, like, are you elated, frustrated, right? And this was like catchy music, but we were a startup. So it was like very cost effective as well. We repositioned the brand, we rebrand it, new logo. Let me see right here. We had billboards. So our top two verticals were retail and B2B. So retail is New York, B2B in San Francisco. So we saturated just in a pilot, New York and San Francisco, digital bus shelters, billboards, the 101, et cetera. And it drove a ton of engagement to the website. I think it was like 2,000% more engagement, like website traffic. Sixth Street, who was the Series F investor of Content Square, they said the only reason why they found out about Content Square was because of the billboard they saw. And then we equated it to numbers. So here are some of the emotions I was talking about. And then we equated it to numbers. So 85% of people are unhappy with their online shopping experience. Understand the people behind the numbers, Content Square. So did the same thing with Five9, the company I'm at now. Really proud about that. Five9, what I came into about a year and a half ago, people said, we have a brand problem. Drew Krause of Gartner said, you're the best kept secret. You guys have a great tech, but no one knows who you are. So we evolved the brand and we repositioned it. And here's some metrics, some ROI metrics, project. Like I'm all, me, ZS, I'm a data-driven marketer. Without data, it's just another opinion. A lot of people have an opinion on marketing. Everyone has an opinion on marketing. They have an opinion on the words, on the colors, but if you use data, and I got this from Peter Leave. You remember Peter Zias when I was at Polycom? He was the CEO. And Peter was so numeric. If there was a slide with 1,000 numbers on it, and if there was one incorrect number, he could spot it, right? So I knew I had to how do I relate to my CEO who's super numeric? Just be super data driven. Even brand, you talked about demand. Of course, we're focused on demand. And this shows some of the ROI from just a pilot we're doing right now with Five9, like huge return. But you can also measure demand. Brand. So here was a repositioning. We evolved the brand. Our positioning was the new CX starts here, transformed by AI, powered by Five9. And then we put the customers at the center. I am super big on telling a brand story, whether or not it's Cisco, Polycom, you name it, through authentically. And you can only do that if you spend time with your customers, you understand what they're trying to achieve, and the business outcomes, quantifiable business outcomes, because numbers don't lie, right? So Alaska Airlines, more care with the new CX by Five9. Central Bank unlocks more loyalty with the new CX. And then down here, you have the business outcomes. This says 80% accuracy. Central Bank quickly builds loyalty. I'm getting old, so it's hard to see.
I get the point. It's more of what they want, right? And
exactly. So, more care.
I guess
more answers.
It's more of what moves that brand, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So I'll stop sharing now.
One thing I've wondered about you, Niki, is that when you look at the world of tech, I guess it's not just tech, it's all industries. Marketing often gets sucked in to whatever the thing du jour is, right? Now, obviously now it's AI and that's here to stay, but over the years, with work from home and COVID and things like that, we marketing often reacts without actually understanding, is this a long-term trend or might it actually hurt the brand? And so can you talk me through a recent decision that made you say no to something that might have seemed like it was hot at that moment or really popular for the sake of the long-term strategic focus of the company?
Yeah. I mean, even just right now at Five9, we had a 3-year contract with Max Homa, golfer. Was he number 10 at the Masters? He was behind, then he caught up, and great guy. We were on his left sleeve, and we had a 3-year.
I'm a big Max Homa fan.
He's amazing. He's a really nice. He's a wonderful human being. Yeah. And he's a great golfer. So we had a 3-year contract with him, and the contractor was coming up for renewal. And when we signed, he was 35th in the world. And when the contractor was coming up for renewal, he was like 10th in the world. So the price went way up. Oh, so obviously, right? Yeah. And I wasn't the one who's like, I wish I had that magic ball and said, oh, we should have invested in him. Someone else did that. It was before me. But we saw a lot of return, but I couldn't justify the return on investment with a future investment. So I had to say no to that, even though it was super. Five9 were such a lot of golfers at Five9, big golf culture. They love Max, but I could put my dollars to use better if I invested it in ABM and other ways to drive demand. Again, the past year, I've been here a year and a half. The first 6 to 9 months, I was just rebuilding the team. I had no head of demand. I had no head of corporate communications. I had no head of website strategy, where you develop a strategy for attract, engage, convert. I had no head of customer marketing. I mean, so I built, and then I also heard you're the best kept secret. So I had to reposition the company to build the brand. We brought the cost per opportunity of our demand down because we built the brand. We brought our cost per opportunity down about 30%. But now's the time to just double click on demand. So take that investment and double click more on account-based marketing. So using AI, you started off this session talking about AI, using AI and different tools like 6sense and others to help understand the intent of customers. We've actually activated, just in this little pilot, in 2 months, 7,000 new customers have raised their hand. Each of them have actually moved one stage further in the buyer's journey. If they're not moving, you're like, maybe that's not quality. But each of them are actually moving, which is super cool. So said no to the Max Homa thing, invested it into digital demand because we spent the past year building the brand so we can drive demand, lower the cost per opportunity. Now we're double downing on demand.
All right. Well, on that note, I guess I'll miss Max Homa.
I
It
know.
was great. It was great to meet him at your event, though, and I certainly understand the decision you made. So, I think my takeaway from the discussion is, marketing isn't a fixed type of activity, right? It ebbs and flows, and you got to reallocate resources based on the needs of the company. And
Yep.
I suppose that's the key, right? Is understanding what the needs of the company are, and working with
Exactly.
the leadership team to make sure you have that down.
And
All
not
right.
being afraid to bring in those insights. You
Yeah.
might not always be the popular opinion, but if a CMO is going to be a change agent for the business and help drive it forward, it's bring those insights in backed by data-driven insights to help shape the company's direction.
Yeah, well, it's a good point, and maybe we'll end on that. Often in the work that I do, marketing will fund a research project or something like that, a survey, and they use it for their purposes, but they don't give it to product, right?
Yeah.
Which helps inform. And so I do think while, if you product people watching, when you say that's just marketing, understand what you're leaving on the table, right? It's a lot of data and a lot of insights that you have that they're not going to have a look into. And so I think that partnership is extremely important.
Yes, it is. Like I said, the four legs of the table, right? You have sales, you have marketing, customer success, and products. All have to work synergistically together. And that's what drives growth.
Yeah. All right, Niki, anything else you want to add?
No, thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
On behalf of Niki Hall, CMO of Five9, I'm ZKast from ZKA Research. Saying thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time on my next episode of ZKast.